In the 1990s, Sandra Boss, a young and smart girl, was on her way to Harvard to receive her award. She had just successfully completed her MBA and was getting honored on graduation day. Her sister also came along, but with her was a man named Clark Rockefeller. He looked dashing. He wore custom-made designer clothing and boasted about his upscale New York apartment, his expensive art collections, and his famous family business. Sandra took notice of him, and the two slowly got attracted to one another. Shortly after, within 2 years of dating, they got married. By the early 2000s, Sandra and Clark had a daughter, whom they would affectionately call Snooks. They led a stable life, thanks to Sandra, who was working as a consultant and also inherited her family's personal wealth. Clark, on the other hand, became a stay-at-home father and looked after their daughter. But as they spent the next 11 years together, things started to get questionable. Clark would often spend Sandra's money to keep up his appearance, and slowly, his stories became inconsistent. The couple would often move from place to place because Clark felt his daughter was in danger. Sandra didn't want to keep up with his behavior and soon decided that they should separate. By 2007, the couple had signed the divorce papers. Sandra got custody of her daughter because Clark had no job and he wasn't financially capable of taking care of her. However, he was given child visitation rights. The court approved 3 visitations per year with his daughter, in which he would be able to meet his ex-wife and his daughter under legal conditions. Everything went smoothly until months later, in 2008, Clark disappeared with his daughter while walking through Boston Common. Investigators then attempted to track down Clark, but they were met with a huge mystery. This was when things became even more bizarre. Clark didn't have a social security card, a driver's license, or even a credit card in his own name. When his picture was shown on the news, asking for leads, callers gave at least 4 different identities to go with the man shown on screen. This made investigators perplexed. Who is this man if he isn't Clark Rockefeller? Hey guys, thank you so much for supporting my channel. It's truly motivating to see you interact with the videos I make, and it encourages me to do more. So, please continue to support this channel by subscribing and liking the videos. Sandra was startled and shocked when she heard that her husband wasn't Clark. In fact, she didn't know who he was and where he was from. Imagine falling in love and marrying a complete stranger. To keep matters under control, she hired a private investigator, and it was then that she found that her husband was far from what he claimed he was. He wasn't even a part of the Rockefeller family, and to make matters even worse, he didn't own businesses or have a status symbol. Meanwhile, the investigators then found a man who claimed to have had wine with Clark just the night before. And the most crucial part of the scene was that the glass that was used by Clark was not washed, so it was possible that his fingerprints could be traced. It was confirmed. The glass wine indeed had his fingerprint, and surprisingly, it was already in the crime records. The names associated with the match were Christopher Chichester, Christopher Crowe, Clark Rockefeller, and finally Christian Gerhartsreiter, his real name. Who was this man, and why did he have so many identities? Let's break it down for you. Christian Karl Gerhartsreiter was born on February 21, 1961, in West Germany. He grew up in a middle-class family in a small town in Germany. He moved to the U.S. as a teenager, where he stayed with a Connecticut family while claiming to be an exchange student at a local high school. He later got married and divorced, landing a green card, and moved to Los Angeles under the name of Christopher Chichester. It was then that his identity was associated with a first-degree murder. It all started back in 1985, when John and Linda Sohus, a newlywed couple, mysteriously disappeared from their home. But a crucial piece of the puzzle, the mysterious tenant who seemed to be off, was a suspect in this case. This person was none other than Christopher Chichester. Though the investigation didn't gather much evidence, the case went cold, and the mysterious tenant seemingly disappeared. Decades later, a family moved into the property, and while they were excavating the backyard, they found human skeletons. These later turned out to belong to John Sohus. This evidence revived the cold case, and from there, an unfamiliar DNA was picked up. However, there were no matches to the records. On the other hand, Linda's body was never found. Christopher Chichester then became Christopher Crowe during the late 1980s. However, the reason he didn't stick with this alias was that he found it difficult to land a decent job. That was when he decided to take up another name: Clark Rockefeller. It was this name that finally got him arrested. Clark, or rather, Christian, was found in Baltimore, Maryland. It seemed like he had already chosen another name, Charles Chip Smith, as his alias. He had also purchased an apartment for about $450,000. The investigators then devised a plan to lure him by telling him about a boat that was leaving. He caught it and was finally arrested as he left the apartment. Christian was then convicted of kidnapping charges. That same year, 2008, 23 years later, a cold case of the disappearance of John and Linda Sohus, an additional case, was finally solved. Christian is now serving a sentence of 27 years to life in prison. He will be out on parole when he turns 69. What did you think about this case? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. You can also suggest which case to narrate in the next video by tagging the channel's name with your comment. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.